This is David Bowie, and we'll be talking about music actually in the 70s. So I suppose I've got to be in it.
Heaven loves you, the clouds part for you, nothing stands in your way when you're a boy. Clothes always fit you, life is a pop of the cherry when you're a boy. When you're a boy, you can wear a uniform when you're a boy. Other boys check you out, you get a girl. These are your favorite things when you're a boy. Boys, boys, boys keep swinging, boys always working hard.
Dennis Davis changed his natural drumming style to suit David Bowie's music?
Your dad changed his drumming style for David only a little bit, because I have to first tell you what kind of a person David Bowie was. When he hires a musician, he respects what that musician can do, what that musician's specialty is. Like, for instance, Carlos Alomar is a very special guitarist. He's unique like your dad. You know, there are not many people who play like him and can play in so many different styles. But I think when we met Carlos, he was playing funk, you know, like James Brown kind of music and all that. And we hired him because we were making a soul record. And in turn, Carlos recommended Dennis when we needed a new drummer. But both of them, your dad and Carlos, brought in their style, and David respected them for it. He didn't want them to change. He just wanted them to play his music. That's all they were given. And then after we heard what Dennis could do, David and I looked at each other. We were just absolutely amazed. Then we would coach him. We would say, like, this is normal with any musician. Can you play this section quieter or louder, or could you put more fills in this section, things like that. But we never asked him to change his style. But he adapted to our music. But, you know, if you hear Dennis play for anyone else, I'm sure you'd recognize it's Dennis Davis on drums, you know. You shouldn't ask a musician. What I'm saying is, a musician as great as your dad, you should treat them with respect and not ask them to dumb down. You know what I mean by dumbing down? Just play too simply where you could get a machine to do it. We wanted Dennis to mess it up a bit, to funk it up, you know, to be loosey-goosey, you know, which he did.
Oh, show us the way to the next little girl. Oh, don't ask why, no, don't ask why. For we must find the next little girl. Or if we don't find the next little girl, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. Oh, moon of Alabama, it's time to say goodbye. Say auf Wiedersehen. We've lost the good old mama and must have little girl. Oh, you know why.
What are some of your favorite songs with Dennis drumming?
Well, I like what he played on Ashes to Ashes, especially Cut and Blackout from Heroes. there's a song on Larger, Look Back in Anger, and where he plays very like thunderous tom-toms, and like really, really steady, like very rolling tom-toms, almost like dung 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 dung. And he does the same thing on a song called Move On. His drumming is quite amazing.
Sometimes I feel the need to move on, so I pack a bag and move on, move on. Well, I might take a train or sail at dawn, might take a girl when I move on, when I move on.
Also, I love his, like, there's the opening of Larger is Fantastic Voyage, and I love his drum fill just before we start playing. Boom, 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 and then go in on the hi-hat. He expected me to cut the opening fill out, you know, just come in on the beat, but I would keep all his fills. If he played a fill, it was in, you know, I never cut anything from him. So, I don't actually have a favorite. You know, it's just he would always blow my mind.
Right. So David Bowie in the '80s. Will it be? Well, you don't know yourself
Not
what
really,
you're going to
no. No.
Bowie's Up the Hill Backwards.
Magazine said Dennis gave critical rhythm ideas to Scary Monsters album. He was playing parts that were unthinkable but fit so perfectly. Please give me some example or what it means.
Well, he always played parts that sounded impossible. Like, where did this come from? He always came from left field with something special. And the way he would do a lot of the ways he would play the hi-hat and other cymbals were not typical. You know, whereas a hi-hat is usually played like in 8th notes or 16th notes. You know, he was like playing triplets very quickly, like that, and going back. And like he was like an octopus. I described him as an octopus before. You could just, I don't know, it's as if he had more arms, you know, like the Hindu gods. You know, he had more arms to play drums.
Mm.
And I've got one of the best songs on the album called Ashes to Ashes. I have it here, I could play it to you.
Bowie's newest album, Scary Monsters, his fans will recognize an old Bowie character.
Bowie's Major Tom, the astronaut who launched him to success, has changed. He's now a silver clown.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3.
I'll add George Murray now.
Oh no, don't say it's true.
hear how the bass and drums are really locking, like it's almost one instrument, but it's two men who are just jamming, bouncing off each other. I particularly like the way it goes into the outro, where you could hear your dad go on the hi-hat, which is very difficult when you're just playing time.
Ashes to ashes, back to back, we know Major Tom's a junkie.
That's very good drumming. All those little normal drummers don't play like that. Only your dad does. And it's in the mix. If you heard the whole record, you'll hear this. I always kept the hi-hat up loud because I really liked what he did. You know, everyone knows this track, and the David Bowie fans, and they have really heard this. No one's heard this except me. You now you've heard it.
Yay! And
Sure.
my mom heard it too.
Yeah, and your mom.
Winner of the British Rock and Pop Awards of 1980 for Best Male Singer is the inimitable David Bowie.
David Bowie's single Ashes to Ashes shot to #1 last August, and so far it's sold nearly 500,000 copies. He had 2 other successful singles during the year, all tracks from the Scary Monsters album.
Thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate it.
Did you meet Dennis again after the recording of Scary Monsters finished?
Oh yes, I met Dennis several times. I didn't work with him, but every time David Bowie put out another album, whether it included your dad or not, he would invite him, because Dennis was a friend. And so I met your dad, I think as late as 2003. That was the last time I saw him at one such of these parties. I think we had an album called Reality out. If it wasn't 2003, then it was maybe a little earlier at another party.
I used to be in this band in the 70s. Matter of fact, I did all those records. Now my student is playing the gig, and I'm playing percussion.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this is the last question. If my dad was still here, what would you think he'll tell me?
Well, I don't know what you want to be when you leave school and all that. I don't know what you intend to be when you're an adult. Do you have can you tell me what you want to do? Do you want to be a musician like your dad or something else?
I'm probably I want to play soccer.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's healthy, you know. I mean, if you go into sports, it's very competitive, and you don't mind training 10 hours a day? No?
I'm
Good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, I would say, you know, speaking as a father, I would say just realize your dream and put yourself 100% into it. And don't do it by half measures. Don't put 50% in or 75. Try to spend more time off your phone and do it in training, you know. Because I tell a lot of young people who want to be a musician, like they find Pro Tools very attractive, and they can fix things, you know. And I say every hour you use a mouse, you could be using that hour practicing your instrument, bass or piano or drums, you know. This using a computer isn't going to teach you much, because everyone can use a computer. It's basically built so children could learn a computer, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
a violin's different, for instance. It takes a lot of practice to learn how to play a violin, and we need violin players. We need drummers. We need bass players. But we need soccer players too. I mean, that's a real dream a lot of young boys have, and girls as well. And it's just as much dedication to become a professional athlete as it is to become a professional musician. So as a dad, I think, like your father would say the same thing, do it, follow your dream 100%. Don't look to the left or to the right. Focus on what you want.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, everybody. This is the end of the interview. Yay! If you stayed this long, please leave a like down below, and go follow me on Instagram at the HD Projects, and Facebook, the HD Projects, and go subscribe. Hit that red like button. It only takes 5 seconds. 5. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And have a nice day. Bye.
Cut.
Oh, it's nice talking to you. You want
Yes,
a cupcake now?
Yeah.
In the event that this fantastic voyage should turn to erosion and we never get old, remember it's true. Dignity is valuable, but our lives are valuable too. We're learning to live with somebody's depression, and I don't want to live with somebody's depression. We'll get by, I suppose. It's a very modern world, but nobody's perfect. It's a moving world, but that's no reason. Shoot some of those missiles. Think of us as fatherless scum. It won't be forgotten, 'cause we'll never say anything nice again, will we?
When you hooked up with Bowie, you did all the tours as well as those records. Did you prefer one or the other?
And I love the recording, and I also love the tour. I love the tours too. I love the money. The money was good too, I have to admit.